Exactly. Good evening and welcome to the Norwood Trails Advisory Committee meeting of Tuesday, November 12th, 2019, if you can believe that. We're here in Norwood Town Hall. The building is ADA accessible and ADA compliant. We have 9 available chairs. Feel free to come on down and join us for one of our meetings where the meetings are always open and audience and contributions, information, suggestions are always welcome. By way of taking attendance, I'll start with this esteemed gentleman to my right. If you could enter and sign in, please.
Jerry Miller.
Craig Austin.
Fran Rush.
Ellie McConaughey.
Ernie Pachakowski.
And Lee Leach.
And Joe Greeley. We do have a few members who have are with us in spirit tonight, but they'll be back in our next meeting. We do have as always, we always seem to come up with things to put on our busy agenda. First item on the agenda, review and approve prior meeting minutes.
So moved.
There's a copy in this several page attachment here, but got a motion, how about a second, anyone?
Sure, second.
Second, made and seconded.
Thank you.
Further comment, discussion, questions?
Great job.
All those,
in here.
all those in favor of accepting Lee's excellent minutes, say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, opposed, unanimous, thank you. That was the only set of meeting minutes that we had outstanding.
Yep.
So we are now 8 minutes into the next set. Next on our agenda, unfortunately, she couldn't join us, but I was contacted last week by Pat Green from the Norwood Women's Community Committee. The WCC, as they're known, they're among many claims to fame, appropriately so. They run the thrift shop in South Norwood. Pat had contacted me in an effort to the Women's Community, Women's Community Committee, WCC, are very interested in getting together with the Trails Committee, and although they don't have any specific projects in mind, they would love to join forces and come up with some ideas and roll them out, either get together over the winter and plan something for the spring. We did spend a good hour or so on the phone together, and so they're excited to collaborate and colloquy and do all kinds of things together as a joint committee effort. Pat did try, she was interested in joining us tonight, so I added her to the agenda, but because of some family issues, she wasn't able to join. But I did hold a placeholder in one of the next couple of meetings, and she will join us. So to be continued. I don't know if anybody knows anything about the WCC, but it sounds like.
A little bit.
I think they've been around for like 35 years.
Oh,
More than that.
More than
Yeah.
that,
More.
more than
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like 75, 80.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They do
Maybe
an
even more
awful-
than that.
They do an
Yeah.
awful lot, they give a lot of money to
Classmate of
the
mine,
town.
Is she?
Yeah, very quiet under the table, they give a
Yeah.
lot of money to organizations in the town.
A lot of seed money to get things started.
Yeah. But you were telling the story, Jerry, before we began the meeting tonight about people watching the Trails Committee meetings and reading it in the newspaper and Norwood Community Media. Thank you, by the way. But that's the kind of thing that, people are interested to see where we go next. So, so thanks for coming and figuring it out together where we're going next. So Pat will join us at a future meeting. So we just made 30 minutes up on the agenda here.
Moving right along.
Moving right along.
This is great.
Next, this is great. So we're very formal here. So the next agenda item, completed walks events. So yesterday we took a walk in the woods.
Right, how was that?
Well, you did.
We did. Well,
So Lee is about to tell us how it went.
well, the group met at the Willett at the Willett School parking lot at precisely around 2:00, and we had decent weather. It was dry, overcast, a little nippy, about mid-50s. Very little wind, coolish. We walked on the trail with a couple dogs along with us as well, so that was a new experience for the committee members. And everybody participated. There was, that were there participated, Joe, myself, Sue Bartlett, and help me. Marcia, who has attended,
She brought the dogs, huh?
yeah,
Her dogs, yeah.
her dogs. So we had walked this trail previously, and you know, so there were
Pass that around if you could.
basically it seemed to be in a similar condition as it was in our last time we walked it. I didn't think there was any new surprises on it. There's obviously spots that are wet that we didn't go over. We didn't have our boots, our wading boots, but, so
How
spent,
long of a walk was it?
well, I was gonna say, we were back a little bit before 4 o'clock to the parking, to our cars. Basically, it was an out and back kind of a walk near the Father Max area. We were able to do a little bit of a loop around the Father Max area and the senior center. And then on the way back, we went up the backside of the Norwood landfill. So we checked that out too, which we've done before. So like I said, there was no new surprises on it, but
How wet were areas again?
there were a few areas in the wetland areas up near Father Max. It was not impassable. The wet areas that we encountered, we could get through. Okay, but there was, we avoided going through, like wetland areas. So deep river or brook crossings. We were able to, down where the old skating area is down that way, we were able to get across that we get across the first little part of that, but then we encountered a wetland area that kept us from going out into the next neighborhood.
Go to the top of the hill?
Yeah.
That's great.
And Joe's got the
So Sue mapped it while we were out. It was 2.7 miles was the route.
Oh,
So we started at the Willard. We didn't go as far as, so there's a new cut that goes from Father Mac, what did you just call it?
White Mike's.
White Mike's, the
Right, yeah, White
pond,
Mike's, yeah.
right? So from the pond, it goes out to Silver Street and North Street.
Yeah, we
I
didn't
forget
get out
which street that goes out to.
Silver, I think.
But that part of the last leg leading onto the street is actually private property that the town has an easement for. So not for trail purposes, so we were talking about the winter list and trying to come up with a list of requests for easement, and that would be likely one of those, if we could talk to those neighbors and ask if we could, cut across a small portion of their property just to.
Silver Street. yeah.
Silver, okay. So, great view from the top of the Mount Norwood, from the top of the landfill, and, yeah, it's good.
Any critters up there?
No living critters this time,
Well, there was no living critters last
No
time.
living critters last time.
right?
But there were big critters.
There was two very similar critters this time.
We've seen hawks up there, but there wasn't that much in the way of critters or birds in the air
There was
this
supposed
time.
to be a huge owl there.
Yeah, we didn't come across
It's
or
daytime, so
hear
it's
it.
not-
It was getting close to getting dark by the time we got done. There was some black threatening clouds, so we avoided getting rained on though.
We did, in taking that walk, the purpose of that and that stretch is basically the next brochure, the next map that we roll out. So it was a good exercise. Lee and I were taking, as you mentioned, taking notes on things that we need to either ask for assistance on or have a work party and to just clean up a little bit. But with a couple of bridges and some lumber and some elbow grease, I think we could definitely make it walkable and a good path. So
so So I'm intrigued by your comment, no living critters?
So one other thing that's prevalent up there is deer, but then also with the deer come the coyotes.
Okay.
And likewise with the deer and coyotes come ticks. So just as a precaution to people, the viewing audience, you always have to do a tick check wherever you are, and you always have to be aware of your surroundings.
I had no ticks.
I'm sitting in there in the parking lot,
Good to know.
sitting there in the parking lot afterwards.
While we were with the dogs, though, the dogs did have some ticks on them.
Oh,
We
did they
found
really?
while we were walking. So the
Wow.
ticks are active still,
Yeah.
certainly, and they will
Yeah.
continue
They're
pretty
active
much.
12 months a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
They don't stop.
they don't stop, even
I
in
did-
winter. So
I did pull 5 of them off myself
Did you
in the parking lot.
really?
So
Yeah, that's why
And
we
were
bring
they
Joe.
minute?
Off
the,
it.
ma- the magnet off my legs, and
yeah.
Wow.
I started to drive out of the parking space, and I looked down, and something's crawling across my legs. So.
Any thought of naming that trail?
Oh, I thought you meant
You're gonna say
naming the
that?
tick. I did name the tick, but I'm not gonna say what the name was, but.
Joe's tick trail.
None of our, I don't know, actually, I guess some of our trails do have names, but this one doesn't, so.
I mean, we don't know if we call it, what, Willett or Germany Brook, or what do we have no, I mean,
It
we
would-
should probably bring that
It
up
starts
later.
at Willett, there's a Father Max.
Parkland, really.
Oh, it's the landfill,
It's
the landfill
Germany
is the
Brook.
main,
Yeah.
is the big piece there.
The whole,
Dump.
Yeah.
John Kelly would say, it's not a dump. They're putting solar
Be
cells
like
on
an
that,
oval.
so
Yeah.
in the future,
That sounds better.
they're great.
The Highlands.
Yeah,
the solar project has bogged down.
Oh, it has.
It's cloudy over the solar project. But that whole area runs from Germany Brook at Father Max, parallels Germany Brook all the way down to the Willett School,
Yeah,
so,
so Germany Brook Trail.
yeah. Be a good one. And hopefully we can at some point cross the brook and connect up to something else, so.
Yeah, I don't think it would take a lot of effort to put in some wooden walkways across the last part that we didn't go across where was really wetland area, which it pretty is wet year-round, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
So didn't seem like it was maybe 50, 75 feet or so of walkway to get access with homeowners' permission out to Silver Street.
And we did, those of you who looked at the map, we did a loop. Instead of going that way and getting wet, we took a right and went through the woods and ended up at the north at the Savage Center.
Yeah.
And then we hooked around back to the pool and went back the same way. So we tucked a loop onto the tail end of it, so it's a good walk.
Sounds fun.
So we'll have to figure out what to do next with that one, but it definitely makes sense. It's probably the next and most ready for action trails. Like, there's not a lot that needs to be done, so. Okay. Active subcommittees, trail mapping.
Not much activity, but I did do a couple screenshots to see if I could get better seeing or better zooming with 2 pictures instead of one big one. Because there's a lot of dead space here because we're not going through the neighborhoods. The result, though, you get 2 images. One, Father Max Playground, the other, the Willett School Light Department area. They are can be joined, but one's 90 degrees of the other, so it's not really easy to do. So for maybe 50% improvement in zooming, I don't see a whole lot of benefit to it, so.
Yeah, that's good. It is a trail, as opposed to some of the other, like the Endine, there's a lot of side spur trails
Yeah.
and other things, but this is,
Well, there
you
aren't a
know,
lot
if you
of
take a left, you're in the
features.
water, and if you take a right, you're,
You're going uphill, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there aren't a lot of features, like there aren't a lot of extra trails going off of it and rejoining it later on. So it's certainly possible to put it, keep the one map.
Yep.
This, a lot of people walk for exercise purposes. They walk the hills of the cemetery.
Right.
Maybe we could somehow have a spur off that. You're talking about, there's something, you wanna do a little Mother Nature, wanna do your hills, and
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
you see them in there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's around here, though. Isn't this mostly wetland?
The
Behind.
wetlands
No.
is right behind the ball field.
Yeah.
And then this is where we walk, but no, I don't think it's too bad there.
It's not too bad over that area. It's wooded.
Yeah.
But that would be,
That
you've
would be a new trail, though.
I-
Yeah.
yeah, and you've done it on, maybe the Endine Trail is you've actually designated wetlands, just so people are aware of what they're about to walk into.
I mean, we could
So-
start with something and always add on,
Yeah.
keep making improvements, add
Yep.
loops.
I swear someday we'll have the AAA triptych where you glue all these maps
That's good,
together.
yes.
but-
So, you are gonna definitely include the landfill top of that, so,
You want to?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spur going up
Just
it.
put a little,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know, because there's no formal trails actually after you get up over the little lip of it that goes around the edge of it.
Worn, well, what I remember in the spring, there was kind of a worn area.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
it's
don't know
just-
if you would count it, because, well, it would grow over the summer, and I don't know if they mow it.
Can we get them to
No,
do it?
no, it's sort of like brushy, so you,
Yeah,
I think they do cut it, they don't mow it more.
right, they probably go out with a
Yeah.
hand
No, with a big,
device or
yeah,
something,
probably.
weed whacker or something.
Yeah.
But sure, you could put a spur up there.
the other thing, and not to talk too much about this property, but the other thing that we've talked about before, and we did get a commitment back a year ago or so when they were talking about the solar panel project. We did get commitment from the light department and the then likely solar project contractor, that they would build like a kiosk observation deck on top of the landfill for us. So that would, that's still a good probability at least. Something maybe like west facing towards Gillette, Sunset, and that way.
Good place to watch fireworks.
Yeah, it is, yeah, it's a good spot. So anyway, that's our next victim, is the next candidate, so. Great. Trail marking, I know Ernie's.
All right, so you sent me that drawings what the kid did, so I took Sunday morning, I took a walk over Adams Farm to see it, the kiosk. And I'll pass this around, Sue's not here, I sent her some pictures to put up there, she's not here, so we'll send it to Jay. So if you look at this and zip right, I took a lot of pictures, for how they built it, just for my own. But you'll see on the back, they got one of those little, I don't know what they call them,
QR code.
QR code, yeah.
the little thingamajig. It's in the back hidden, it's kind of a bad spot, but, and then the last picture is how they do their blazes. So, starting,
You see what's up there?
yeah, I know, we can't get rid of it. So starting right, don't you have all their albums, Jerry?
No, I said, who's Jaden? And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, scan right, that's the kiosk. It's actually not a bad, have you seen it?
This is the one at the barn?
No.
That's
No.
In.
the
He built the one at the barn?
No.
With the bench and all that?
No,
No, no, it's a couple hundred yards in.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I have
it's
seen it.
after
So if
the
you take
open.
that and
Yeah.
flip right, you'll, some of them are just, I took pictures of how he built it, just,
That is very cool.
but, the size looks right. I mean, for our purposes, it's almost perfect. I mean, we don't need to do what they did at the barn, obviously, but, for our purposes, it looks like it's not much heavy lifting. It's pretty tall, but, other than that, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Do you know what it was anchored to?
They
in
buried
ground?
they buried the 3 feet in. They went down 3 feet with 4x4 posts. I
Okay.
couldn't tell, I'm assuming they're pressure treated, I don't think I don't
Yeah.
think, he went for,
Cedar.
cedar would be ideal, but cedar's also very expensive. And then he stained it, with some kind of, and we can always get some creosote to put on the things, so you can't do that in Massachusetts, they don't allow
Oh, I was just
that.
curious if they used cement or anything
No, it
like
doesn't,
that.
no,
Yeah.
no, they just dug, that's fine. You go down 3 feet and put
Yeah.
bury a post, that's
Post-
not going anywhere.
Post hole digger.
Yeah, that's not going
Just-
anywhere.
Yeah, I was thinking like frost will sometimes.
3
push
feet,
it.
you're fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm,
That's great.
But for our purposes, it's really, I mean, it seems like it would serve our purpose.
That's the one
Well,
we'll
they can
install.
make it
We'll install that one,
multiple
okay.
Yeah, what's that?
Like making multiple and just locating them in different places, or just, you just talking,
Well, no, if we'd start, obviously, we'd, as we progress, we would put them at different trailheads. And I think Endine, if you did it, you'd almost have to have 2. I think you'd have to almost put one at the,
pool area?
the pool area, the main way in, and you'd have to put one, I'd put it at Endine, I'd put it, I don't know if you put it by the pool or you put it down the road where the road kind of splits and everything kind of comes together. And then I think you might need one up at the garden, because I think that's a nice opportunity for people to walk from the orchard, or whatever they call it now, public gardens. That's a nice,
Yeah.
and they do mow that path to get you down into the woods.
Good.
So I thought
Thank you.
it was, for our purposes, worked well.
So you think those are doable, and
Yeah, and there
Good.
doesn't seem to be much heavy lifting there.
we could bang out a few in a day, maybe? If we had the right people, and, you think? Not we, but I mean, some group.
I saw your shirt, all the tools.
We did,
Hmm?
yeah.
The shirt on there says, "Oh, I got all the right tools."
I have a shirt that says I have all the right tools. Oh, this shirt, oh,
No, after you go through all the pictures, it says, I'm looking at all the pictures you took of the different,
no,
signage.
no, it says, I may be old, but I got to see all the cool bands.
Oh,
Has nothing to do.
See, you have to be careful.
I was trying to give him some credit.
So the thinking, I did get a commitment from Tony, and he kind of volunteered the DPW group to help us over the winter build some
Yeah,
of
I mean,
these
they- yeah.
kiosks.
I mean, I can help, unfortunately, between now and the holidays, I'm straight out.
Yep.
Weekends, my business commitments, but then after that, I mean, I got chop saw and everything, we can,
Great.
it seems like pretty easy the way he did it.
Yeah, good. So this would be, I kind of requested and borrowed the design from one of the scout projects in Walpole, and it's doable, and I think at the time they just repeated, I think they created 5 or 6 of these kiosks, same design, same size, same materials, so we could do similar.
Yeah, yeah.
I've talked to Al Getz about installing them at various places, various trails throughout the town, and he's more than excited to have those things on board. so.
And you don't need to put concrete, I mean, that's,
Yep.
just backfill the dirt and you're fine.
Good, good. Great. I did mention at the last meeting, we were invited, Susan Clare invited us to participate again this year in the Sustainability Series presentations at the library. So the available slot that we took was February 6th, 2020, if you can believe that. Susan's idea, and I think this relates to some of the audience, the folks in the audience, and interest in actually crossing the border to the town of Walpole and doing a joint presentation between the Norwood Trails Group and the Walpole Trails Group. And we already have a agreement, and we're already throwing out some ideas with the Walpole Group as well. So they did join us, what was that, probably a year ago, I think. They, 2 of the gentlemen, Glenn and Gary.
And Gary, yeah.
Joined us from the Walpole Trails Group, so.
Glenn Gary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, February 6th, so we'll be looking for people to kind of jump on that board that, over the next couple of meetings. I just stuck in there, the next newsletter, we need to get back on track as far as sending out newsletters. So if anybody has any ideas, especially over the winter, where we could kind of keep pique people's interest and keep people's interest. Even if it's, did you know that you could actually go out on the trail over the winter, or if it's something in preparation of the spring, or
Snow,
whatever.
promoting snowshoeing or cross-country skiing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, having a, like a combination, snowshoe, cross-country skiing, like the town hike you did,
Yeah.
you do one in February or something when there was good snow and get a bonfire down there and
Yeah.
make s'mores.
That would be fun.
And then people that are interested in that would
Yeah, sure.
be able to,
Could
see
turn
what's available.
it into a Boy Scout project and have them light a fire. So anyway, just to let you know, there's a newsletter brewing, so if anybody has any ideas, let me know. Attach some of these attachments on this multi-page thing here. I did use both sides of the papers. We do have a couple of upcoming events, just to call to our attention, but also to the audience, the viewing audience. November 16th, unfortunately, these things occur at the same time. But we did get a commitment from Mark Ryan to take us on a tour of the pumping station off Route 1, when Judith Howard has presented the idea of possibly rehabbing and resurrecting the pumping station for various purposes, but one of the suggested ideas would be possibly to turn it into a kind of a trailhead, head-end building, accessible at some point, but those details need to be worked out. But so the Trails group said we accepted and gladly accepted her suggestions, and the next step was to try to arrange a tour of the building, and at the same time, we'll take a general walk around the area just to play a little what if. We've been there
This Saturday?
this Saturday, the
Oh,
16th,
okay.
at 10 o'clock, so anybody that's interested in meeting down at really at the animal shelter, that driveway, the gate will be open. So we can meet there and walk around the facility at 10. At 9 o'clock, and this is a 9 a.m. to noon event, same day on the 16th. There's a work party meeting at the Ellis Pond Dam. And there's a group of people, anybody that shows up, basically, no heavy lifting, no heavy equipment, but if you come down with gloves and loppers and things like that, we'll just try to do some maintenance on that trail that runs from the dam over to the Cleveland School entrance. So periodically that trail gets overgrown. And that one is actually hosted by John Gear and the Conservation Commission.
Now, can I ask you something?
Yeah, sure.
So, for that kind of a project, and we talked earlier about ticks, what do you all do for protection, being out there?
So, it's funny you ask. So before we just had a community walk there
Right,
back
yeah.
at the Yendine a couple of weeks ago, so before every walk, we do try to make sure people are aware and have some kind of protection. So do you want to chime in on your preferred protection out there? Or anyone?
Cover up, hats, spray.
Looked like
Well,
a Michelin.
On this past Sunday, it was cool enough, we were, pretty much all covered, gloves, hat, everything. But you just have to be vigilant. If you don't want to wear, or spray, then you have to really be covered. And
Okay, just curious.
bring Joe along,
Yeah.
What was that?
bring Joe along.
The tick magnet. So the Board of Health actually
Don't check,
has.
tick.
Yeah. Thank you. Board of Health has information on their website, but basically it's long pants, proper footwear, long sleeves preferred, off or some kind of deep woods kind of spray, or some method of application. There's also a product called permethrin that's tick, that
Kills
you,
them.
it kills them, it prevents it, it distracts them and convinces them to go otherwise other than on your clothes. That's more of a clothes application than a,
Right, that's not,
Skin
that's
application.
not for human use.
Yeah.
Permethrin's only for clothing or
Right,
shoes
you
or
don't put it on
something.
yourself, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I was just
Um,
curious what you all did.
most important thing is to be aware, take precautions, but at the very end of your walk, before you do anything else, they advise it's always good to do a tick check, and if you were there with other people, just do a, you look at my back, I'll look at your back kind of thing, and just make sure that before you walk away, that you get rid of any tourists or clingers on.
Yeah, okay, thanks,
Hitchhikers.
yeah.
Yeah, just so you know, ticks can attach by, pretty much after they get on your body, but if you get them within like the first 8 to 24 hours, the risks of Lyme disease is pretty low.
Okay,
So it's not that you have to get them right away, but you have to get them within that first 24
Okay.
hours.
all
off. So,
That is, we talked about our winter list, but I think that's certainly one of the things we want to spruce up our presentation and make it available on at least on our own webpage.
right. Oh, maybe even for the newsletter.
Yep, for the newsletter, yeah, good
Yeah.
point. Just to try
I
to
know
take,
LL Bean sells, I have those permethrin socks, they have actually all clothes that you can wear, but just even having the socks.
yeah, yep. Good question, you don't want to take any souvenirs home. Um, What else, in this, let me just make sure I'm going through this package. So included in this package is one email that I already sent out with a couple of the calendar items. That includes both of those things we talked about, as well as the sustainability series. I attached Judith Howard's email about Saturday, November 16th at 10 a.m. at the pumping station. The last 2 pages are Pat Green's initial email and a couple of follow-ups about the WCC and working, continued efforts, combined efforts. Lee, you want any members' minute, anything to contribute?
Yes, I do.
Please.
I'm a member of the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. I've been in the process of section hiking it. But I recently got an email that advertised, I believe it's November 17th is Take a Hike Day. But on that email, they also had a connection for people who are interested in learning how to hike the trails, particularly it was geared towards the day hiker. And I just wanted to tell the committee and the people out there that are listening that I found it to be a great resource if you're new to getting out in the outdoors and want to go to this website. It has a lot of useful information on for new people to the outdoors on what to expect and how to prepare for just going out for an hour or two on the trails. And it's not necessarily specific to the Appalachian Trail, but to any trail. You would go to the Appalachian Trail Conservancy website, and under the Explore button, you would then click on Day Hiking. And under Day Hiking, under Explore, under the Appalachian Trail Conservancy website, they have listed the information on the basics, which basically describe what you would want to look for a day hike, how to find a hike with a very extensive list of resources and links, including All Trails, which is a very common app and website for all trails anywhere if you're interested in how to find a trail. It also describes when to go if you're interested in seasons, time of day, week of the day, things like that. how to prepare for the day hike, what you would need for gear, things like that. How to get to the trail if you don't have a car and you need some way of getting yourself to a trailhead. There's a lot of resources there. Obviously, if you're just going to stay local, it might be a little bit easier to even walk from your house to a trailhead. But if you want to branch out and get it describes how to connect to shuttles or ride sharing or public transportation. So all those kinds of informations. And then the final thing on the website is what to expect on the walk itself, like encountering ticks and things of that nature. And also trail etiquette when you're out there on the trail. Somebody new might not know that, well, you know, the one of the basic premises is to you know, bring to the trail your camera, but, you know, leave no trace effort, which is a very common, you know, form of etiquette for hiking the trail. So I thought I'd mention that as my members' 3 minutes.
Okay, good. We have talked to the town's IT department about adding links and an available links section on our webpage. So we'll try to connect up that link with our page and make that accessible on our webpage. So, but that's the kind of thing, that's great. That's the kind of thing we want.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody's a AMC or Appalachian Trail expert. You know, some people just want to get out of the house for half an hour, which is great. So, good, thanks.
So, yeah, like I said, this is geared to new people who are not, you know, want to know about how to just get out
Yeah.
and hike. Thank you.
Thanks. Ernie?
Just follow up on Lee as a member of the AMC. Their links, they have some tremendous links. For anybody, you don't have to be a member, you just go on their website.
Yeah.
And they have all kinds of links, local trails, you know, in the area that, you know, they have a lot of information, because there's still 2 chapters, a Boston chapter and a, you know, a South Shore chapter, and they got all kinds of information. I don't know if it was Joe, if you posted the pictures. It was kind of cool. Somebody posted a picture this week. I thought it was on Norwood Now. May have been someone from the Neponset River watershed, but they posted a picture of 2 mature bald eagles sitting in a tree on the Norwood-Canton line by the Neponset River.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool. Now, last year there was a bald eagle that spent a considerable amount of time wintering up by New Pond. And 2 years ago, there was also an eagle. Sue got a picture of it behind St. Tim's, and this one was just posted within a week.
Yeah, wasn't me, but I did see that. Yeah.
I think I just think they're an amazing bird. Maine is they're becoming very populous in Maine. You see them a lot up there, but they're I don't know if these 2 are migrating or hanging. I hope they're hanging, but if you get to see them, they're cool. That was it.
Okay. Thanks. Ellie?
Well, you had mentioned something the first time I met you at that walk at Endine about the possibility of doing a guided nature walk that might be more meditative. And so I've been kind of playing with that idea. I'd be interested in that possibility at some point. I do lead retreats, and so that'd just be the kind of thing that I could offer if there was any place for something like that.
Okay, good, thanks. They do, a friend of mine lives in Walpole, and they actually have, it's a private person who takes advantage of the town forest in Walpole, and they have, I'm not sure if therapy session is the right way to describe it, but it's basically either one-on-one or group walks in the woods, but specifically for meditation and
Yeah,
kind
that
of
kind of
peace
thing would be
peace of
really
mind
useful.
and,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing, so
Well, I
that,
could maybe reach out to that person and
Yeah,
find out what
sure.
they do and
Sure,
just
that'd be
offer
great.
that.
Okay.
Something that maybe our committee would
yeah, great,
offer to people.
good, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
yeah.
It's good to have an expert in the house,
Mhm.
it's great. Fran?
I don't have much.
Okay. welcome back,
Well,
welcome.
thank you.
Welcome back.
I did do a lot of hiking in the southwest, the
Oh.
last couple of weeks or month. But, a lot different from here. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing for
Great.
me this week either.
Jerry?
My only comment is the fact that I think you made note of it earlier, Joe, is there are people that watch these trails meetings all the time, and I happen to be bumping into a few people about it, and the positive reaction to it is the fact that the people will get a better understanding of where they are, and they're walking out and checking them out. And the Endine seems to be the prime one right now. They're wondering when the next one's gonna be. So, today's information will be helpful, but as soon as we finish that one and do it up right, I think that's gonna give us a lot of more credence to go for the next step.
Yeah, sure.
But it is, the people are watching us and trying to figure out what we're doing, and they seem to enjoy it, and it's introduced them to some of the places, so.
Yeah, great, great. We did, I think at the last meeting, we talked about the possibility or the hope that we could host a New Year's Day walk on January 1st, so,
A lot of places do that.
Yeah.
They get people.
yeah, yep.
Borderland does a big one, and
Blue Hills does,
who goes?
The mother of all.
Walpole does one too,
Yep.
so.
yeah, so, good, thank you. Just a couple things, the reason this is kind of building momentum, and we've been doing this now for almost 2 years, I think, and it's like nothing existed before. It was a vast wasteland. It always kind of ticked me off, as I said. But it always ticked me off that if you look at these, like All Trails, as I have that app also on my phone, and looking at the AMC list of, suggested hikes, and there's this big, like, dock space where Norwood is, and everybody else has a trail around their properties, towns or whatever, and we're left out in the cold. But I think we're definitely building momentum, and it's all because of all your contributions and ideas, and, wouldn't it be great if, so. I did attend, and then the next time around, I did get some handouts, but the next meeting, I'll pass them around, but I did attend a couple of, last weekend, I guess. There's a state entity, they take a little piece from the DCR and various other state entities, and they call themselves Mass Trails. And it's basically, among other things, it's a clearinghouse for grant applications. If some, either private entity or town or whatever, if somebody had an idea to build a trail or rehab a trail or whatever, then you would basically, once a year in February, they have a grant application window, and you fill out the grant and you try to, present your case on why your project is really good and should be funded by the state. But that's something that we had to wait for our open space and master plan to be revised. Every 8 years or so, the town has to submit an open space master plan in order to apply for other grants, but this would be one that we could piggyback on. But it was a 2-day session. I took a day off from work, and it was a 2-day session. It was very informative. But one of the things and I think we all kind of threw out bits and pieces of this, but one of the presentation was how to understand who's using your trails and who's not using your trails, and try to figure out a way how to get the people that aren't using the trails interested, not only interested, but how to get them there. So like somebody, if you think of, okay, well, I've got somebody who lives down by, Islington. How do we get somebody from Islington to the Endine if they don't have a car? So it's like, okay, hop on the 34E, but they,
34E.
right? God save the 34E, but that's the kind of thing that you have to kind of think out of the box, and we all either walk or drove to tonight's meeting, but it's the same thing as, okay, well, if yesterday we met at the Willet's not an easy place to get to, so how would somebody get to the Willet? So that's what this hour-long session was, who's using your trails, who's not, how do you get the users of your trail to match the demographics of your town or community or whatever. So if you think of Norwood and, literally what we look like in the community, then how do we get that face, if you will, onto the trails, and how do we make the trails more appealing, whether it's demographics or physical limitations like mobility issues, whether it's families with kids or senior citizens, whatever, it's, you know, that was the presentation, and I walked away with a lot of good stuff that I'll share at the next meeting.
Good.
It was good, it was a good session.
Just-
Jerry, then Ernie?
Yeah, where, do you know where the status of the open space is? Has it been accepted?
It has been, so there was an open space master plan committee created. They did a survey back in January, February. They got, I think, 700 or so respondents to the survey. And then they kind of went dormant, not dormant, but they went silent, and they created the master plan draft, and the draft has been submitted to the state. It has not been approved yet, but it's in the works.
Yeah, I think, Paul, I talked to Paul about that, he said they're getting the committee back up to finalize it. It'll go to the planning board for approval, then it goes to the board of selectmen for approval, and then on.
Okay.
But I think they're ready. They're all but ready. Just to piggyback on the thing you said, Joe, about who's using it and all that, and I live down on the Plaza Street, so that $11 million thing that they built, the old Canton Airport, which is not much of a, it's basically an old road. Sunday mornings, Saturday mornings, and I go by it a couple of times, there's always cars there. I mean, there's always 10 cars there. I went to Adams Farm early, I was there at 7:45 Sunday morning, and there were cars. And the few times I've been to Endine since we started this, I've walked it, dog walkers. Every 2 out of 3 have got a dog. And and I know, like Canton, I don't know why you would walk that unless you didn't have a dog, because there's not much to see there, but that seems to be so we gotta get other people that are, cat walkers or goat walkers or something, but.
An opossum, we saw.
But that seems to, my take on it is a lot of these, it's dog walkers.
Yep, yep.
And they're everywhere, which is fine. I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but I mean, they know where the trails are.
Sure. And that's the kind of thing that, like, we all knew the trails in our own backyard, but nobody knew about the trail on the other side of, heaven forbid you cross the highway and
Right.
go over to the Neponset Street or something, but the dog, if you think of the dog walkers are the first line of defense, or the first people in the morning and the last ones in the day that are on some trail, then that would be not only is that a good group to formally get onto the trail, but they would be the perfect stewards and adopters or partners, guides, whatever you want to call them, whatever people are comfortable volunteering for. If we had a hotline, we do have an email address, it's trails@norwoodma.gov. But if people want to drop us a line, I was on Ledgeview, I don't know, I was trying to think of one trail that doesn't get a lot of foot traffic. I was on Ledgeview and there's a tree down. So, just FYI, and then if we get it, we send it to the DPW and we say, we used to, I think we've gotten, this is my own fault, I think, but we've gotten away for a while filling out those trail reports. Every time we go out for a walk, we used to fill out a trail report. But that would be a perfect thing to hand to somebody and say, next time you're walking your dog, to your point, it's, and
Let us know.
Ernie, yeah, let us know.
Let us know.
If you encounter something, let us know. So.
What was that
see
email
something-
address again, Joe?
The email address, did you say?
Yeah, what was
It's
that email?
trails@norwoodma.gov.
Thank you.
So, but anyway, so yeah. So anything else, further comment? So if we look, Sir?
At Endine, I saw a woman putting pink plastic things on bushes. And so I asked her what she was doing, and she's an environmentalist, and she was marking the wetlands. And apparently, there's a hope that she would mark the wetlands, and then they would be able to bring some rocks or pebbles in for the areas between the two wetlands at Endine, because it's often flooded there. And kids use that for their cross-country So she said, just so they don't slip, I guess the town is really interested in doing something with those areas in Dean that are often flooded. So I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yep.
Yes.
Was it Cheryl? Must have been, sounds
No,
like a
no,
Cheryl. No. But, yeah, those are the kind of things, and I think the more we can get people aware of the fact that the trails exist, the more people use them, and, that's all good, it's all good stuff. Okay, at the bottom of the agenda here, so our next meeting is Tuesday, November 26th at 7 PM, and then followed by December 10th at 7 PM. Both of those will be here unless we decide to take one of those meetings elsewhere. So,
Okay.
we haven't had our holiday party
On the road.
yet, So,
So we can sing Happy Trails.
we can do that.
Let's
You
go to
can-
Maine.
You can lead us. Unless anybody has anything further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
So
Second.
moved, seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Thank you.
Unanimous. Thank you, one and all. Thanks for joining us.